Today we are going behind the walls of HMP Peterborough. Let's go! Hey everybody, welcome back to Beyond Conviction. Today we're going to go behind the walls of HMP Peterborough. The reason I thought I'd upload this is I used to volunteer at Peterborough Prison some years ago, and this video I'm basically going to give you the ins and outs of what the prison is, what it does, how it runs, and some of the people I met there as well. So let's begin with a tour of the establishment. So this is HMP Peterborough. There's no prizes as to where this is located. It's located just outside the city centre, about a mile away from the mall in Peterborough town. What's quite interesting about this is it looks like two prisons, because it actually kind of is. So on the right side here, you've got the male side, which looks like an X. Then on this side, where you've got the 5 spurs, a bit like a star, this is the female side. And this is the only prison in England that houses both female and male prisoners. So I used to volunteer here. I used to volunteer for a charity called the Shannon's Trust, which teaches prisoners how to read and write and basic literacy skills, really. So I used to come down here once a month to do some voluntary work, and I spent most of my time on the female side as opposed to the male side. So I do know this establishment fairly well. So when I'd come in, I'd go through here like everybody else would. There's the gate where vans would go in. So I'd come here, and I was actually assigned keys. So I was able to draw keys because I had a standard plus security clearance, which is given because I've got a criminal record. I can't get cleared the normal way. So the governor has awarded me a standard plus security clearance so I can do rehabilitation work for the prison. But anyways, so I'd draw me keys, and then I'd go through security, which is a bit like an airport security, really. So you go through metal detector, you get patted down. Sometimes you'll get wanded. And now and then there's dogs, but it's not really for staff. They're usually for the social visits. And then I'd come through here, and then because I'd be going on the female side, I'd get let through and then make my way to the female side. So this prison's operated by Sodexo. Sodexo is a private contractor. They're actually a catering service, so they provide catering services for the likes of the MOD and hospitals. But they've branched out into custody services about a decade ago, I think. So this is one of the few prisons that they run. They also run HMP Northumberland up in the northeast as well. But yeah, these prisons are run much better than the government-run ones, in my opinion. This is just based on what I've seen whilst I was volunteering here. So we'll stick to the female side for the first bit of the video. So this is essentially this half of the prison. On the whole left side is for the females. So here, if you see where it says number 17, that's the reception area. So the bottom floor there is when female prisoners coming in, they go into there for reception to get booked in. And what's above there, they're the visits. So upstairs is where you have your visits. So them 3 windows above the garage doors there, that's like legal visits sort of side. Then the rest of it on here is social visits. So if you spin it, them windows there, all them windows at the top on the top floor, that's all where the visit hall is for the females. And it's pretty much mirrored for the male side on that side too. And what's also really impressive is if you see the bottom floor on that building on the left, that's actually a restaurant, and it's called Vita Nova. It's where prisoners learn how to cook and cater and do their sort of MVQs and bits and pieces like that to be able to work for a catering company when they leave. And obviously Sodexo really supports that because they're a catering company. And the food in there is mega. I've eaten in there a few times when I've been volunteering, and the times I've eaten there is when there was an American lady who was doing time for drug importation, and she used to make like this Alabama biscuits and chicken with this weird gravy, but it was white. It was like American style. It was delicious. I used to get that all the time. It was really nice. The food, yeah, so the food in there is mega. That's where the staff eat. The staff eat in there all the time. And here's the housing units for the females. So it's quite odd because you'd think one spur is one wing, but it's not. Like when I was in Durham, you got one section is the whole wing. So for example, that would be A wing, B wing, C wing, D wing, E wing. But no, here you've got a wing on the bottom floor there. Then at the top floor is another wing. It's like totally separated, and the same for each spur coming off. So you actually have like 10 wings in this whole building instead of just 5. Also, because they house women, sometimes women come in pregnant, and if social services and the authorities allow them, they can actually keep their babies in prison with them for the first 18 months. And I don't know what your opinions are of that. Some people say it's wrong, babies shouldn't be kept in prison. Then on the other hand, people say they should be with the mothers for at least the first 18 months, to bond and things. So I'm not too sure where I stand on that. I think it's a good idea, but it is quite controversial. So that's the mother and baby unit. So it's only got I think of 20, 30 spaces. So that's where mothers keep the babies for the first 18 months. If the mothers get released before or around that time, they get released with the children. If they have to still stay inside, then the children get took out by social services to go live in with a family member or foster care. So yeah, that's the mother and baby unit. So they've got like nice gardens. I've had a look at the gardens. They look a bit different to this now. I think this is quite an old satellite image. But they've got like slides and it's really nice, to be honest with you. They've done a pretty good job. And here's where the stroll with the babies. So like I say, it is a good idea. So here's some more housing units. So this is the gardens right here. So this is the polytunnel. And they grow all sorts in there, I tell you. Like they were growing tomatoes, peppers, chilies, any sort of vegetable you can pick up at a market. It grows inside this one polytunnel. It's really good going. Honestly, like they're quite innovative there. And a lot of the girls take the vegetables back to the wing with them so they can, cook for themselves. So there's some more housing units there. So it houses quite a lot of females. It's very busy. It's a very busy part of the jail, this. And the females, they come from all over. They come from, obviously, Peterborough, Cambridgeshire, Lincolnshire, Norfolk, Suffolk, and they also come from the Midlands as well. So those that are just out of the catchment area for Foston Hall and prisons like that, they'll come to Peterborough. So yeah, that's pretty much the female side. So when females have got visits and stuff, they'll come through here and then they enter there and then cut through. But this building here, they call it Main Street. So in this building there is where they have the education. It's where they have like the courses they do, maths and English. There's hairdressing in there as well. Really good. I'm not a connoisseur for hairdressers, but they do a pretty good job. They also done barbering as well. I've never had a haircut in there, but I wouldn't have minded one. They know what they're doing, and they have good teachers, like really good teachers. But yeah, that's it for the female side. Well, like I said at the beginning, I didn't spend much time on the male side because they were pretty full for volunteers and Shannon's Trust and stuff. But this is like a local prison, so as you can see, it's a bit more rustic and a bit more grey and boring than the female side. But there's a lot more housing space on here because obviously there's a lot more males getting sent to prison than females. So this is where the males are. And then these 2 spurs as well. I believe these 2 spurs are for protection. I think these are the 43s, or at least one of them is. These are the 43s, the numbers where all the nonces go. And it's pretty much mirrored as the female side is. So you have all the education, workshops and bits and pieces in there in the gym. And their visits are in there. So if you're a visitor and you're visiting a loved one in Peterborough, all the visitors come in. The male and female visits are at different times. as to not, cause clashes. So visitors go through security, then they walk through here, then they go through that door, then they go upstairs, and you go left if you're visiting a female, and you go right if you're visiting male. And that's pretty much Peterborough, It's a fairly decent run establishment. Well, the only thing I would say that's a bit negative about it is a lot of the staff are very young. They are very young. They're obviously 18-year-olds, who look like babies, and they're locking up people who, doing years of bird. You don't see a lot of long-termers in the male side because this is just a local prison, so they'll be here, then they'll be dispersed out to more long-term prisons. But on the female side, this is a normal dispersal prison for females, so there's people doing a few weeks, a few months to life in there, and there's 18-year-old, 19, 20-year-old kids who are locking them up, which is absolutely bonkers. But yeah, that's Peterborough really, the only prison in England which houses male and females. It is quite an innovative place. They're always trying to do something special. I actually met the governor of that place. He's called Ralph. Don't know his surname. We used to call him Wreck-It Ralph because he was quite a big guy and he had massive hands. It's like the cartoon Wreck-It Ralph. But he was a very nice man. He didn't give two tosses that I had convictions and I was working in there. And he always tries to get to know the prisoners individually as best he can. So, I mean, when I was in jail, I never met the governor, the main governor. You met a few different governors if you're on Nickens and stuff, but I never met the actual governor of the establishment. But for Ralph, he's always cutting about trying to meet people, and he's very nice. He always tries to ensure that people are going out with more than they went in with, and that's his motto. I want you to go out with more than you come in with, and that's what he tries to adopt. So that is a good thing. But obviously putting it in practice is another thing. So, yeah, HMP Peterborough, located right next to the main line. So if you're ever going from the north to London's King's Cross, you will pass this prison. So, yeah, that's Peterborough. Nice little tour. So compared to most prisons, HMP Peterborough is like a holiday camp. They've got all sorts going on. They have family days, restaurants. So, yeah, I did enjoy my time volunteering at Peterborough Prison. I also met some really interesting people whilst I was volunteering. And there is a saying that I adopt, and that's the most interesting people you meet are actually in prison. And I do fully stand by that. But I will show you a couple of the prisoners I met. And you may have heard of one of them. So, firstly, Ellie Wayne. So this young lady is from Coventry, and she got put down for life in, I think it was 2019 or 2020, and she was only 18 years old. She was got put down for life for murder of her partner, Kieran Brown. It hit me quite hard when I heard about it because she was so young, 18 years of age, and she's doing life. I think her minimum tariff was about 17, 18 years. And, I mean, waste of life, I mean, she'll only be 34 when she goes for parole. But yeah, it was just such a shock how someone so young could be, convicted of an offence like that. But, I mean, I met her a few times and she was very kind. When I first met her, she doesn't really look like she does in the picture, because she aged a bit. I think she was about 22, 21 when I met her. So, she was lovely. I actually mistaken her for a member of staff when I first went in, because of just the way she carried herself. She carried herself quite maturely, and I thought she was a member of staff, like a member of teaching staff or something. But now she's actually taken her sentence in a stride from what I could see. Because not a lot of people who get put down for long-term sentences, they usually just hit the drugs or hit the alcohol or self-harm and things like that, which is awful. But she seemed to just be getting on with it. So she got fully qualified in hairdressing at level 3, and she was voted the best hairdresser in the prison, and there's quite a lot of girls that do hairdressing in there. And she also got I believe she was finishing a degree in canine sciences or something. So to do with dogs, and learning about the anatomy and the science of dogs. She's very passionate about dogs. I believe she did have quite a few dogs when she was outside. So she's really passionate about that, and she actually told me she aims to either be employed at or have her own dog rescue centre. So yeah, I hope she gets out eventually after learning, where she went wrong, and I hope she's remorseful for her offence, and she'll be still young when if she gets out in her 30s. So she's got a whole life ahead of her, which is not so much what can be said about her victim. God bless him. But she seems to be getting on with it. She's not, as far as I can see, she's not into drugs and all the illicit behaviour that goes on. But all the best of luck to her. She's really trying to turn over a new leaf and get educated, which is good. Next lady I met is Karen Tunmore. Now this person, she's actually from my neck of the woods up in the northeast of England, and her case is quite bizarre because she was actually convicted of a murder that took place in about 2004. She essentially beat up a guy with a baseball bat to death over a debt or something, and she kept hold of that secret. They didn't find out who done it for years, and one day she just walked into the police station up in Newcastle and admitted to murder. Basically said it was me, and told the police some details that only the person responsible would know. So it was her guilty conscience that convicted her, and she got sentenced to life, and I think she has to do a minimum of 16 years, 18 years or something. But yeah, she's in Peterborough, which is quite far away from her local area. And I got to know this is because she is being kicked out of most prisons, because when she first got sentenced, she obviously getting used to a life sentence. She has been testing the system, constantly down segregation, fighting, attacking staff, smashing up. And so she's been sent far away, and that's kind of what happens. It's called getting tornadoed on the mail estate, or getting ghosted, which if a prison can't be asked with you because you're constantly causing problems, they'll just Shanghai you to a prison far afield, which is basically what's happened to her. But now I got to know her a bit. She used to work in the tuck shop in the visit hall. So if I was cutting through the visit hall to get from one place to another, I'd see her there setting up. And whilst we were waiting for visits, now and then I'd chat with her, and she actually taught me how to play this card game called Rummy. It's quite an old card game. I never heard of it before she showed me it. And I still play that with my friends, Rummy. It's quite a cool game. I didn't get it for the first few times she was trying to show me it. And every time I thought I won, she was like, "You bloody haven't won, you haven't got Rummy, you fool." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got Rummy." And I was going around to staff saying, "This is Rummy, innit?" And they were like, "No, that's not, man. When Karen says it's not Rummy, it's not Rummy. She's the Rummy master." Which she was very good at the game. Which is quite odd. How can you be good at a game? It's like a card game, it's usually down to luck. Depends what card you get dealt with. But anyways, now she was alright. She had a few medical issues. She actually got bitten by a spider in Peterborough, which I didn't even think there was any venomous spiders in the UK. But she got bitten by a spider. She got her bitten in her foot. And it was the same foot that she broke as well. So she hasn't had very much luck medical-wise while she's been in prison. So she's constantly either in hospital or on bed rest and things. But I remember one time there was a few month gap in my volunteering. So when I first seen her, she's quite a stocky, a strongly built lass, quite large built woman. And a few months I didn't volunteer because I was busy. When I went down next time, she shed all the weight. And that's because she was in hospital and obviously wasn't eating properly, and she shed a whole lot of weight. But here's another one who's done obviously something so despicable and terrible. But she was lovely. She was really nice. One when she first heard my accent, she knew that I was from the northeast of England. So, and because she was all the way down there and her family haven't been down to see her or anything, she was actually quite happy to have someone from her neck of the woods there. So, I wouldn't say we get on, like as in we're not mates, but, you know, I had a bit of, what's the word? Not camaraderie, but, you know, I had a bit of banter with them. You know, it makes your working day go much quicker and much smoother. But she was fine. Again, another one who's been put down for a long sentence, and she's just getting on with it and trying her very best to ensure she doesn't do the same mistake again. It took her a few years to get used to being in prison because she was just smashing up and fighting the system for a few years. But since being tornadoed further down south, she's just settled down and just getting on with it. But yeah, that was Karen. Last but not least, the next lady I met was Virginia McCullough, and she actually made headline news a year or two ago. She was responsible for the deaths of her mother and father, who she kept their bodies in makeshift tombs in the house, and she finally got caught and she got put down for life with a minimum of 36 years. She's a bit of a fruitcake, and I think that sentence was a bit lenient in my opinion. You killed two people who brought you into the world and got you to where you are, and you kill them both. I think she should have got the rest of her life behind bars, but that's my opinion. So I only briefly met her once or twice, and she was on the same wing as Ellie Wayne, who I mentioned previously. She was a fruitcake, in my opinion. That's the kindest way I can put it. She was off her rocker. Virginia, she was away with the fairies. She really was away with the fairies. When you can just tell someone she's not a full shilling. She was just in a daydream world all the time. And you can tell the people who have money in prison, like Ellie and Karen, they used to dress in relatively decent clobber, like proper brands I wouldn't even buy. And decent clever, but Virginia used to always be in PIs, so prison issue stuff, and she never had a job either. I think she got put on the cleaners or something eventually. She never had a job either, and the two people who could probably finance her stay in prison and, you know, look after her, the two people that she murdered. So rightly so, she's suffering, and as I mentioned in previous videos, being without money in prison sucks. Like, you just about survive. And that's how she was just getting on day by day on what the prison give her. But she was just away with her fairies. She used to say weird things as well. Like, she'd go up to people, like, she'd go up to the girls in the wing and be like flirt with them, but not really flirt. So she'd give them compliments and then just walk away. And it didn't really lead to anything. And the lasses were just quite creeped out by it. But yeah, and she also had a lot of interest from like journalists and filmmakers and script writers and stuff. So she had a lot of visits coming in to speak to her about potentially making documentaries about her. And I believe that went out. I think she was on that Killer in My Village or something. Was that on Channel 5? I know she was speaking to producers and things over the phone, and she had people come visit her about that, and that ended up getting aired as well. Yeah, so she was on Killer in My Village. Well, say on it. It was about her, Killer in My Village. But she's got a long while to go. And to be frank, the way she's going, I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, but when you just know enough to say that someone needs to get a review of some sort, because they're not all there or they're acting very odd. That was her. It wasn't, so you could tell that she's just not a full shilling. I don't know if that's the effect that her offence has had on her, if she's really haunted by it, or if this was something that's occurred before she committed the offences and potentially led to it. Well, the courts probably didn't seem to think so, because they gave her a life sentence in prison rather than a hospital order. So, yeah, she was someone I didn't really like to be around. She wasn't on any of the Shannon. Well, none of the ladies I spoke about on here were on the Shannon's Trust courses that I used to volunteer on. They were just people who I met passing by. But yeah, Yeah, that Virginia McCullough, she's not scary. You just feel uncomfortable around someone. That's how I felt. I just didn't feel like when she looked at you, you feel like her eyes were burning a hole in you. Like she had really dark eyes as well, which doesn't help. But like she's like a shark, but in like a chihuahua's body. That's the only way I can describe her. But yeah, that's the people I met. Well, I've met more, but I'm not going to put them all on this video. But they were the ones that will remain in my memory forevermore, mainly because the offences are committed, and the fact that how surprising it was to meet them. And when you read certain things about people and what you read doesn't match with what you're presented with as a person, that's why I've shared what my thoughts were about these three ladies. But yeah, that's HMP Peterborough. It's pretty much a holiday camp. That's why a lot of people, mainly on the women's side, kick up a fuss when they're getting moved to a different prison, because they're like, no, I want to stay here because they love it there. You know, you can actually order takeaways from like the restaurant if you get enough green IEPs. It's just like butlers. I mean, they're living better than us in there sometimes. But yeah, HMP Peterborough. HMP in this case stands for His Majesty's Playground, because that's pretty much what it is. Holiday camp. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. Feel free to share your opinions and thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. And yeah, hang fire for the next one. Peace and love. Thank you.